part one of the Loaded Wednesday Night lineup. It's your boy Denzel Snipes, and this is the Pundit's Pundit. Not only am I a show co-host on Weekly, I'm also the president of production of Sideline Sports LLC. So we got a loaded show for you all today, and don't forget that after this show is the Sports Exchange on the South Florida Tribune, hosted by Scott Morganroth. It's going to be a loaded house as usual. It's going to be a lot of fun as usual, and then after that, come on back to Sideline Sports and tune into Cubfidential at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go over the last week in Cubs baseball and talk about some things outside of Wrigley as well. So just as a reminder, as I bring it up here, that you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, DBTV, and Stream TV, as well as LinkedIn. So if you're watching us on one of those profiles, or platforms, welcome. Just know that you can watch us on others as well. Stream TV, we've got the best in replays all week long as well. We have a 24/7 channel on there, Sideline Sports Channel. So shout out to the guys at Stream TV for allowing us to utilize that. And if you on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button to Sideline Sports, because it's not just the Pundit's Pundit or Cubfidential or Sideline Sports Show. There's also Gauntlet. There's also Brushing the Back with Kobe White, First to 56, the Rude Dog Show. You name it, we got it. And also, we have a new show coming here in about 2 weeks. The Sniper and the Pundit presents. Actually, let me bring this guy in real quick. Let me go ahead and introduce him. He is the architect of this here show, as well as Pundit Views, which is showing on Monday nights. And yeah, he's pretty much everywhere nowadays. Jacob Christner. If you can inform the public of Top Rope Talk, please, sir.
Oh yeah, I am not going to be doing Pundit Views on the air anymore. I will be dead. We got a couple of weeks left, and I'll be over with. Top Rope Talk will be just something we can do on Monday night. I will be doing Pundit Views as something on Patreon, on something on Twitter to make a little bit of extra money. As long as I've got myself someone I can nail down that is really, really good. And it's not to say that I haven't had some really great guests, because I have. But it's just one of those things where I decided to have an idea, let's go with it. But instead, I love our Monday night idea. It's like, especially when we got a lot more people that are nailing themselves down to want to be on our show, that we ought to watch our show with Top Rope Talk. So that is the big thing. And come on back here, Denzel. Let's bring this part. See, the thing, let me tell you this part right now. The reason ESPN is failing is because it doesn't have you as a hype guy.
See, they screwed up, and I knew it. They screwed up. They should have caught me right as I came out of college,
Yeah, that's like the truth. Dude, you could do it. You could do it right now.
Okay. Hey, you know I'm always good for. I'm always good with the intros and the names. And speaking of intros and names, he is the swashbuckler on the SS South Florida Tribune. He's coming for your gold. He's coming for your rum. He really don't drink, but he wants the rum anyway. He's got a tattered boat, but it's still out there. It survived every single storm for 40 years and running. He doesn't quite have an eye patch or any missing teeth or a hook for a hand. I don't know if he has a peg leg. Actually, he doesn't. But let's bring him on in here. The captain of the SS South Florida Tribune, Scott Motor City Morganroth. Let's go.
Hey, Scott. Just make sure JFK's not running your boat.
What an intro. You're talking about a president. Listen, when I was in Key West with my wife over the weekend, we stayed at the Truman Hotel. What a cool place. So we'll get into the present. And I did something I normally don't do on one of my off weeks, which is very often anyhow. I did have a few drinks when we took a sunset cruise at Key West. Don't do it often, but I figured I didn't have to go on social media. Took that night off from Basket Bros. Thanks to George Eichhorn for filling in for me. It felt really good. That way I could start the week and get worn out again, because there's still a lot more going as I get ready to, as I'm working on my new book now called Adjusting to New Media. And now I'm really getting into this thing 2 days into it after going over my outline all of last week. So it's been interesting. Great ride. Love working with Sideline Sports. This show is dear to me. Basket Bros and everything that we do with our platforms is unreal. So no, it's pretty good. So as far as my boat sinking, I'm starting to get going again. with all these
Hey,
other things I have going on. It better not sink. I'm working too hard to get it to this point.
there we go. Hey, Scott, before we get started, if you don't mind, a little advertisement about your book coming out.
Absolutely. That book, Jens, okay, is adjusting to new media. I've looked at a lot of different ideas over the past. I've started in the media since I was 1979, and I have seen so many changes through the years in terms of access and now the emergence of social media. And what I'm trying to do is with this new opportunity that I have as president of broadcasting for Media Studios, the Eagle Corp, their broadcasting division, will take a journalistic approach towards podcasters becoming successful by doing things the right way. Now, I've signed a contract to go ahead and coach these people, but as part of the agreement, I agreed to not only write my book, but also a textbook that matches the class. And all my students will be required to buy that book when they take the class. Plus, there'll be an audio version of it. So I'm really excited. I pondered book ideas, but when I have Dr. Edwin Hernandez sponsoring me, backing me with the staff that I need to pull it off, there was no way that I could turn this opportunity down. I've been so accustomed to allowing people to promote their books. Now I'm looking forward to being able to do mine at some point. So it's an unbelievable thing here, and I'm really excited about it. You know, when I came up with this idea en route to a restaurant, and I'm thinking, this one just hit. There comes a point where some ideas simply hit. And I pulled up, told my wife, I'm doing this thing. And we went into the restaurant and I started working on a preliminary outline. And then when I came to terms with Dr. Hernandez about working for the Eagle Corp, being their president of Media Studios, I presented him with the idea. Initially, it was my book, but then he wanted it to be text. No, I don't think so, Doc. We do it my way. So I said, here's what I'll do, though. I'll go ahead and do a textbook version. Then he agreed, okay, I could do both of those, and I'll sponsor it, put money behind it, market it. And here we are. That's where we are with the book. And you guys are going to hear it every single week. And I'm glad that you've given me the opportunity on Pundit's Pundit to be able to do it. I've covered so many sporting events through the years. I really, really have. But there comes a point that as you get later, you'll cover your fair share, but then you want to back off a little bit. You want to teach, you want to do public speaking, and you want to do things. And I feel like I've found a new life here, and just so glad that I can be able to do my broadcast at night. And one other thing I want to mention here before you all come back on is Dr. Hernandez has also agreed to give me my own show, the Motor City Mad Mouse Show, and I dug up a lot of old cassette tapes of interviews, and now he wants to be a Motor City Mad Mouth Classic interview. So there's a big package of broadcasting here, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with every one of you at Sideline Sports, as well as all the fans around there. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Wrote the book, and I'll keep your progress posted on the progress that I make. I'm hoping to have the thing done by first week of August at no later, and I'm working as hard as I can every day to put the time in. And this is something that's a dream come true to be able to do it and become an author. And now I can taste this one.
Yep. The taste of victory is right there around the corner. Thanks a lot for your commentary and
Well,
letting
thanks
us
for
know about
allowing me
your
to
book.
do this. I really do. You guys, you and Jacob are like brothers to me, and I'll protect my brothers to no end. But, this is something that really, I think that everybody has to realize during these time changes, that people have to realize that once upon a time, terrestrial radio, newspapers were the thing. Now it's anybody's guess. FCC, nobody knows what FCC is. Well, I do. I live it.
Right. Absolutely. And so this is a great way to segue into our first suit up, well, not topic, but it's kind of our pre-topic, and that is our pundit points, where everyone goes around the horn and gets whatever it is they got going on off their chest. I'll start it off here. So last week, a woman by the name of Carly Russell went missing in the state of Alabama. She was on the phone with a loved one when she reported seeing a toddler who was wandering late night along the highway. She said she was going to stop for the toddler, and then the one on the other end reported hearing screaming, and then like nothing. And she was reported missing for a few days until a couple days later when she actually returned home, and she was unresponsive but breathing. She was taken to the hospital and checked out. However, and there was a 2-day statewide search. She's a 25-year-old nursing student. But police, and also you got commentary from a former FBI agent who stated that there was no evidence of the child Russell claimed to see. They actually had security cam footage of the spot where she pulled over on the highway, and they found no evidence of the child. Um, some key facts, and this is via an article on Forbes.com. Local police called around 10:45 p.m., transported her to a nearby hospital. Police department in Hoover, Alabama said in a statement, on Thursday night, Russell went missing on I-459 in Hoover. Said that a small child in a diaper was lost wandering along the freeway. Afterwards, she stopped to check on the child. Heard her brother's girlfriend heard Russell ask the child without a response. There was sudden screaming on Russell's end, and then the background sound of the interstate. Officers came on scene, no sign of Russell or the child. She returned home 2 days later. It actually caught national attention. Let's see here. In a statement released Wednesday, the Hoover Police Department said they found no evidence of a toddler walking along the side of the highway, nor were there any corresponding calls relating to a missing child. So no passerby said, hey, someone is handling a child on the side of the road. Let me stop and check this out. Nor did anybody call in and say, hey, my child is missing. So basically, what is going on here? And it's still an ongoing investigation. They're still trying to kind of get the facts together and everything. But one side of the internet community is saying it could be sex trafficking. Another side is saying it could be a hoax. But yes, most definitely, if you haven't heard about this, look this up. It's very intriguing because on one end of the spectrum, if it was sex trafficking and she somehow came out lucky, it is just another incident in an ongoing problem, not just United States wide, but worldwide. And on the other end of the spectrum, if it's a hoax, well, it's anybody's guess as to why she would do something like that. We'll never know. Maybe there's a follow-up to this. But let's go ahead and bring in Jacob.
Oh, yeah, on TikTok, I had one of my, because these days it's about every couple of weeks. I did something, a little bit different. It's usually sports, but anyway, I'll explain. I watched a high school game. Because it was on my YouTube from back in 1965, back in the dinosaur era. It was Collinsville and Quincy, the Collinsville and Quincy, the IHSA basketball championship. I decided to watch a little bit. There's one thing I noticed. The game is different, of course. It is what it is. I'm not going to bring much about the game. But here's the thing that I will definitely say, without a question. Every single kid, every one of them, were completely shredded, muscle upon muscle. This is the 1960s, mind you. And you see, we all talk about now where the food is. I want to ask about the 80s, because all of a sudden we went from completely shredded to skinny as a rail. I mean, mind you, they weren't any less athletic. They were athletes, didn't mean anything. But you get all these kids and they were skinny. I mean, back in those times, they were shredded. And it's like, mind you, we know that there was more distractions and more things and stuff like that. But remember this. These coaches did not let them go to the weight room at that time because it could affect them. It could affect their quote-unquote basketball. There wasn't a lot of training ideas back in those days. They had that. But look at this thing. Look at these kids in comparison to the 80s. And mind you, the kids now look ridiculous. But they kind of went full circle. But ask this, what happened with the food? Because remember, the training sessions were basically go play sports, go eat lots, eat a ton, go train. And they were shredded. Look what happened to the food. Then we watched Food Inc. Then we watched Super Size Me and every single one of these. And it's like, are we truly watching these for the entertainment or education? Because at this point in time, we need to really figure it out. What's gone on with our food more than just on the movies, because on any of the movies, they can be edited. Anything that can go on, regardless of any of that. So why don't we find out for ourselves so we can get healthy?
Well, every once in a while, when I think of Seattle, I used to go out there and think of the Seattle Supersonics. But today, I have a good reason to feel about Seattle with their other winter sport called the National Hockey League. The Kraken extended head coach Dave Haxtell to a contract that'll take him to the 25-26 season. And you know what? He's well deserving of it. In 2021 and 22, Haxtell guided the expansion team to a 27, 49, and 6 mark for 60 points. Enter in this year, second year, no sophomore jinx there. It actually turned out to be a fine season in their sophomore season for the Kraken. 2022-23, 46, 28, and 8, 100 points. And you know what? They ended up claiming their first playoff spot in the Western Conference. And Kraken squared off against the Colorado Avalanche in the first round and dispatched the defending Stanley Cup champs in 7 games. You know what? If you want to talk about an individual who got a raw deal in Philadelphia, it was Dave Haxtell. But Dave Haxtell is reborn in Seattle, and you can rest assured that the folks in Philadelphia are drinking a lot of coffee, wondering that they're staying up late because they should have gave this guy a bigger chance. They're not sleepless in Seattle. They're sleepless in Philadelphia.
Absolutely. And those are our pundit points for the evening. Jacob, and yours are very intriguing because, you brought up a great point. The one that stood out to me was, like, what do we really watch these documentaries for? Is it for entertainment value, or it could be for shock value, it could be for nutritional value, educational. I think it's actually a little bit of both, especially from the way Super Size Me was formatted. And which, of course, you kind of got to like make things pseudo exciting to get people to pay attention.
Well, the thing being is, I just noticed that. And I wanted to Scott on this because he understands from the day of the. You know what I'm talking about from the thing. We talk about the 60s ball. Look how shredded Bill Russell was, Nate Thurmond was, and Will Chamberlain was. I mean, and even a small Jerry West even. Look how even at the small Bob Cousy. Look at these guys. I mean, the thing about this is the training was not as advanced as it is now. Training's not as advanced. And, the training it was playing. It was practicing. It was maybe jogging or running.
In which nowadays is known as playing your way into shape. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, there was that. But look what the thing was. It's like, look how much they ate the type. Look at the steaks and potatoes. It wasn't the whole thing of finding your complex carbs and your proteins. It was steaks and potatoes. You didn't have as many sugars. Not as the processed food was nil. Maybe McDonald's once in a blue moon if you're from the cart. But it's like, look at all the food that you could be able to get and the training. It's obvious that the food now is garbage in comparison to then, even steaks.
Hey, Denz, I want to add something to your topic about hoax. Okay, if indeed we have a hoax here, and I don't know for sure, who is the king of the hoax in college football?
Oh, king of the hoax? Who's that?
Yeah.
Manti Te'o?
Yeah, very good.
Manti Te'o. I just thought about that. Yep.
No, that's okay. Great minds think alike. You were thinking we talked about it. So as soon as you went along with that, Manti Te'o, the old hoax girlfriend that was never meant to be, and his playing career didn't last long. Not because he was a good storyteller. He wasn't as good of a player. Okay, onward we go.
Yeah.
All right. And well, let's go ahead and segue into our first topic of the night, and that is a look at Lionel Messi's contract with Major League Soccer's Inter Miami. Scott, he's coming your way. So, a quick look, and Jacob, was this one yours?
This was mine. Most of them were mine, but it's like I was going to say what we could do is we're going to be talking through. Either of you are going to get that, so there's the ideas. I know it's with it. There's more.
Before I swing it over to you, just a quick outlook on Lionel Messi's contract, just to let everybody know, because he officially signed, I believe it was 3 days ago. Yeah, he did on the 16th. So they previously announced that Messi's deal will be for 2.5 seasons. We'll pay him between $50 million and $60 million annually. So the contract value is between $125 million and $150 million in cash alone. So, Jacob, start this one off.
You know what the thing is when we see all this with these with this contract, it's the fact that we did. I mean, all of the players before. I mean, you see them right now. They're looking at the bank. You know, they're looking at the bank. They're looking at all of the cash that they can sit on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But look at how money is now. Money doesn't last as long. I said this to somebody the other day. The one thing about it is when you would any of those rich guy shows we used to watch from the 80s, and everybody's worth $300-400 million and stuff like that. When you're worth $300-400 million then or whatever, hot dog and a fries is $2.
Yeah.
Hot dog and a fries is $8.50 now. So $8.50 now. So there is that. You notice how many million. Look at Wembanyama. Look at Brandon Miller's got one. Everybody's going to the extra mile to get extra money.
Right.
Always building it in. I mean, James Harden's doing it. Obviously, LeBron. Obviously, KD. They're all doing this thing. I mean, Tom Brady and a couple others have pickleball teams. The Williams sisters have the Dolphins as a minority ownership. Everybody is doing this, but guess what? That is the way that the things are going now. I bet you anything, his contract is a lot more asset than it is cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm looking at that thing. It's like I'm noticing these things, and look at one big thing that I noticed with it, and it's an awesome idea, and you will see this on many others, and I would love to think of this.
Mm-hmm.
How he gets a piece of every Apple. You know what is the Apple what is this? What is the subscription thing on Apple Plus or Apple?
Yeah, Apple TV. Apple TV.
He gets a piece of every subscription that gets called in a new subscription. He gets a new piece of every new subscription of that. He gets a piece of that thing. He's going to get a piece of the team. He's going to get all that. His contract is asset over cash. So many people have been doing cash all this time, and cash means nothing anymore. Remember how Trevor Lawrence put most of his bonus into crypto before that went bankrupt?
Yes, which was a topic on this very show. You know, it's and it's crazy because at the time period, the argument was actually against it because it's like, well, it's preventing them from the team having to pay them actual cash. But it could be that this may be the way of the future.
Oh, it is. It is the way of the future, and it needed to be this way because cash is. I mean, just like crypto. I mean, we can make fun of crypto, but cash is, like I said to you before. If you have the same $400 million you did in 1985, you got to remember that a hot dog and fries is $8.50 now. Got to remember, getting 2 bags of groceries is about $67.
In LA, 2 slices of pizza and a Coke is $20.
Yeah.
That's literally a large pizza here in Houston, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, so that's the thing is like, why would you go for cash when it doesn't last long? So that's my thing with Messi.
So if you were Messi, like you kind of lean on the side of like, hey, I understand it, and maybe I would do it too.
Oh yeah. That's like I want enough cash to get personally to me. I want enough cash that's going to pay rent, get stuff like that, maybe do some investments. I don't want that whole thing in cash. It doesn't last.
Yeah.
It's like I want the investments to constantly build in. I want to keep it booming. I want assets. You got to remember, I want monopoly. I want the 4 hotels. I want the 2 hotels and the 4 houses.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. You know,
it's just like there's no way I want cash anymore. It just doesn't. It didn't last on the board, monopoly board, and it doesn't last here.
Mm-hmm. Hey, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with, seeing the future for yourself, seeing where things are going, and seeing where you're going to align yourself. But I want to swing it on down to Scott, especially since, and I don't know exactly your interest level in Major League Soccer, but it can't be ignored that literally one of the biggest stars in the world is in your metroplex, in y'all's neck of the woods. So your feelings on that as far as his contract and any commentary that Jacob put out there?
Well, let's put it this way. I covered the team last year and decided not to this year because my workload got a lot busier and there were other reasons why behind the decision. This was a playoff team a year ago. under Phil Neville, and they had Gonzalo Higuain, another first-class player. And this was a pretty good club. It really was. And they made the playoffs, and they lost. Now, Lionel Messi this year gone, Philip Neville. Okay. But here's the deal. They are the worst team in Major League Soccer. 22 games, 5, 14, and 3, 18 points. Last out of 29 teams. Now we know that Inter Miami is going on a spending spree. Where they're getting the money, the owner must have deep pockets, and they must be getting help somewhere anyways, because they've signed a few of his pals from Europe as well. So when you look at where this team is currently at, okay, the top team in the Eastern Conference is Cincinnati. They're 15-2-6 with 51 points. Now, I don't know about you, but do the math here. 51 minus 18 equals what?
33.
Well, that's my lucky number. That's not so bad. But 33 points separates from top to bottom. Now, to get in the playoffs, you're looking at the final spot, DC United, 8, 10, and 6 with 30. And what's my math? 12. In other words, do you think there's a miracle by this guy and a few of his teammates? Because this, as one of my fellow broadcasters many years ago would say, Inter Miami is in deep trouble. That's I go with the deep, by the way. Not as much caffeine today because I was too busy working on other stuff. I needed to stay with it. So I don't know what people think Messi's going to contribute and his other people. I know they're training. I know there was a lot of hype over the weekend, and rightfully so. You just got yourself, supposedly, barring injury, a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce for a player at the age of 35. I believe he's 35, right?
Yeah.
So what can the guy bring to this team? I don't know. But the only thing and we're going to talk about this on the Sports Exchange as well, but I'm glad you guys are leading off with it. Okay. But here's the thing when you look at Lionel Messi, he's only there to sell tickets and keep interest in South Florida. And they're building a new stadium in Miami in Pioneer Park in, I believe, 2025. This has been a franchise that has had problems since the minute they stepped in here. They're playing in a decent state facility at Drive Pink Stadium, which holds like 18 to 20,000 fans, which I think is better than a lot of stadiums out there. But still, they're going to gouge the fans, ticket price, and you can only hope and pray. Now, I will say one thing about soccer fans in South Florida, dating back to their Fort Lauderdale Striker days. Soccer fans in South Florida are fantastic. My neck of the woods can get criticized for being a fickle sports town that you win, they support, which the reputation is just. But soccer has actually done well here, given the history of the sport, dating back to the Strikers, the Ray Hudsons, the Jan Van Beverens, and the list goes on and on. When I covered it back in the 80s, and it was a pretty good sport, and Lockhart Stadium, the old one, was relevant. So I don't know. I guess when you look at things here, I think Lionel Messi's a lot of things, but I don't think he's a miracle worker. I really don't.
You brought something up about this. It's like he's there to sell tickets and get interest.
Right.
Hey guys, what have I said about Justin Fields in Chicago? What the intent?
Same thing.
That stadium coming up. They want a star in Chicago. They want that, and that new stadium, which is every bit why I keep bringing up that they need to keep their patience and quit looking at stupid surface things. Because he succeeds this year and he gets his bag. They've got their star. He doesn't. They're looking again and right smack in the middle of getting a new stadium.
Yeah.
And one of those things you got to think about that. This is what owners think of, not what the fans think of.
True.
I'll say what you want, but the bottom line is South Florida is what it is. He's the hottest individual in MLS. You knew that the league and a lot of people were looking for this groundbreaking signing because that's exactly what it is. And we'll see whether or not they can entice other European players to come here, because I know that Saudi has their league and they're trying to outbid everybody from golf all the way to soccer. But the one thing that the Saudis don't have that United Americans do have is the business and endorsements that you can earn off the field are unbelievable. So not only you making an outrageous salary, but what you can do off the field is another story. And that's where I believe the Americans and North America, particularly the United States, has a lot going for them when it comes to attracting European talent to come here at the twilight of their careers. Know that if you can win here, great. I don't think there's as much pressure on the MLS to win compared to some of these other leagues. Don't get me wrong, there is pressure, but not nearly as much. You don't see as many storming of the fields as you in the MLS compared to what you see overseas. I mean, that's ridiculous, some of the things I've read there. But I wish Messi well. I wish Inter Miami well. I feel bad that the fans are going to pay a big amount of money, but he's going to draw a lot of ticket sales around the league. And I guess a healthy league means it can stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe this isn't just a vision for Miami, but MLS as a whole. Because, like you said, other teams attract other stars from around the world. I mean, who's to say? I'm not saying Ronaldo would come over here or anything like that, but who's to say a team signs Mbappe, maybe a little younger than 35? You never know. No one ever thought that Messi would come to the United States and play ball, and then it happened, right?
Well, let me tell you, years ago,
Saudi Arabia, to be honest.
Well, years ago, I saw Georgia Canalia play, and he's a pretty good player in his own right. So, Pele went ahead. Ironically, died on my birthday this past year. But Pele played for the New York Cosmos, and he was a big-time draw. So, people from other parts of the world can come here and let me tell you, you talk about the Metropolitan New York over at Giant Stadium. They used to put 70, 80,000 people for these guys. That's unreal what they did up there. Pele, draw, you know it. And I guess the only thing that annoys me about MLS is their stadium size are limited to 20, 25,000, with the exception of a few markets that set the double standard. I mean, I'm disappointed the league never granted Detroit a franchise. They wanted us to build a stadium on the old jail site, and the Fords offered them Ford Field in Atlanta, and I've been to that new stadium. They level off the top, and you can still go out there and put 30,000. I think the MLS sets double standards for what their stadiums are like, and I've always been annoyed by that. Biased toward Detroit a little bit, but just keep it consistent, because I can rest assured, come Atlanta and a lot of the Seattle, these teams that are playing in football stadiums are going to put 50, 70,000 in there all day long, and MLS will be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going into our next topic here. We're a little ways over the halfway point of the show, and that is the NCAA. Oh, the big bad wolf strikes again. They're trying to regulate NIL. So just when you thought it was over, it's not. NCAA, they're always going to put up a fight, in my honest opinion. They fought tooth and nail not to have this happen. It did, and now they're trying to put restrictions on it. So, and Jacob, this is you, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So I ask: is the NCAA trying to regain control again?
Oh, good Lord, yes. You know the whole thing with that. It's the big issue is that. Big issue is the fact that the whole thing with NIL started because of cases like Rick Majerus trying to, when a kid lost his dad or some kind of family member, he brought him out to eat. He sent him out to eat just to listen to him talk, just like the guy needed a dad to listen to. They put sanctions on him. They investigated Rick Majerus for doing that. NCAA's get what they deserve here with this NIL, with people getting this, because every little detail you might get, it's like they remember the investigations they put for the even smaller things in comparison to let's see, like Reggie Bush and some of the things, and some of the things that they're doing now. Remember the SMU with the whole death penalty. Some of that was small in comparison to what we see right now, but NCAA they got what they deserved. Because there were things coaches wanted to do to help the kids, even give them a little bit of cash for. It's like even Bob Knight said they couldn't even do that. Couldn't even give them a little cash for a pizza or anything like that. It was like buying them off. I mean, there would be kids investigated if they saw a new car, even if the dad bought it. Yeah. And it's like it's absurd. They got stupid. So here's the thing. What made them think it's just kind of like whatsoever when the owners used to own the players' contracts once a year. You renegotiate your contract, which is not much of a negotiation. They tell you what you want. And then guess what? All of a sudden 1993 hits, and then it's been that way since there. All we wish, and then someone brought up the whole. I was bringing up what did LeBron's, what did he exactly change? Someone brought it up and they were right. They were that all the movement, all the player movement, and it's like, and I didn't think about that, and I'll admit that. But all of this, from '93 with all that to now, from LeBron and everything like that, all the player movement, all that happened because the owners got greedy. NIL happened because the NCAA got greedy. And these are the things. I'm going to be on, and I'm going to be on the player side, on NIL side, because guess what? It's called revenge.
Yep.
You swing back, and it's like NCAA. Guess what? If the NCAA takes NIL, then they're just going to bury it, and the things will even get worse to the point they can't even eat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what's going to get. And it's like NCAA really almost needs to cave in and start over.
Yep. You know, it's like, how long are you going to hold on before you? It's like, listen, it's up. You know, we have said for the longest time that these kids deserve some. You look at how much revenue. If anyone has any question as to why are these kids, because all the time it's the same argument, you know, why should they get paid anything? They're getting a free education, they're getting free room and board and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, and I always ask them the same question.
Rooms
I'm
are
like,
this big.
yeah, you know, whoa, here's the deal. I said, you know what, let me pose this to you. Okay, you know how much revenue the March Madness brings in every year. How much revenue the college football playoffs bowl season brings in every year, and that is just bowl season. That's just football and basketball, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at a typical 4-year education, right, and let's just say that, okay, yeah, they don't pay for anything. Of course, they're on scholarship. Okay, cool, you know. But you as a college athlete just brought them in millions of dollars, and I'm talking about, like, okay, you were the Heisman winner. You're a Reggie Bush. You're a Derrick Henry. You're a Lamar Jackson. You're Caleb Williams. You know, how much money did you by yourself make the NCAA by having people tune in to see? I want to watch Caleb Williams play. I want to watch Reggie Bush play. I want to watch. I've heard of Lamar Jackson, this guy out of Louisville. I want to watch him play. That's not a fair exchange, okay? The typical, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, but the typical cost for a 4-year education, that doesn't equate to the millions that you made to school, you know? And even then, I still don't think they're breaking even. But just because the kids are getting something, I'm not complaining at all. But I want to switch it over to Scott and your thoughts about this whole thing.
First of all, Reggie Bush should have his Heisman Trophy back, period.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Mommy, you asked me, I thought you should have it back. Number two,
You should have it back.
Right, I think you should. Number two, NCAA trying, and I repeat, trying to regulate NIL. Okay, good luck. Ever heard of the courts? I have. I have a good friend of mine that's an appellate attorney that could tell you right now, and I won't mention his name, that it won't happen. Is the NCAA trying to control here? Again, you mentioned the word trying. If I were you, if you hashtag these shows, okay, make sure the word trying is a hashtag, because they are trying to do it. And guess what? They won't do it. Why? Because for the reasons that you said, Dens, okay, these kids are making the schools a lot of money. But the reality is this, you know, these guys don't have the opportunity to work jobs when they're spending so much time as an athlete doing what they do. Albeit, I understand, okay, that as an athlete, you get the scholarship money. But what about those other months when you're not playing? Yeah. Who's paying you there? So, you know, the typical student could go out there, whether they're on scholarship or getting the grades, they could work. But now we're telling us these guys can't work or get something coming in their pocket, especially when, like we talk about, the NCAA is making a boatload of money. Hey, listen, let's not kid yourself. I don't know how much money the bowl system is making them. We can talk about the top tier bowls, but, you know, to me, the Bahamas Bowl is worth a bunch of players going out there. You hope to have a few scouts there, and you might, if you're lucky, see a few attractive young girls in a bikini out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we have over at some of these other bowls? you name them. You got the bowl out in Idaho, the Idaho Potato Bowl. You think you're going swimming up there? No. All you get to do is play on blue turf. Okay. But hey, but I think that to me, you have way too many bowl games in the first place. And now I think there was talk about 90 teams in the NCAA tournament. I hope cooler heads prevail. They don't ever do that.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, you might as well let them all in and see what happens. So
that's a dangerous deal because you're going to see that they're always going to try to put the first seed against the very, very lowest. And if anybody gets hot and it's a single elimination, you've just lost your ratings.
Well, it doesn't matter. You lost them anyways with what you have now.
Yeah.
Come on, Jacob, get with it, man.
I
know, but I'm just reinforcing. They're already losing them now. I mean, you think about it, FAUs don't grow on trees, okay? Where you'll dance through the tournament and you pay for major upgrades for a bad basketball stadium. That just doesn't happen too often. But thankfully, it was a feel-good story in my neck of the woods. But the reality is this: the NCAA always has and always will be corrupt. I've had some guests on here, Kevin Anderson was on my show for a No Limit show. We went 2 hours and 20 minutes on the state of college athletics. It was one of my better drawing shows. This guy was the former athletic director of the University of Maryland. And he called me a week later and said, boy, I didn't realize it, but your platform reaches a lot of people. I'm wondering if he's worried about what he said may have gotten him into trouble if he ever does get out of retirement, whether he'll ever get hired again. And maybe that's why I don't know. I think he is going to retire anyways. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at everything, the word trying, remember, the key word are courts, okay?
Yeah.
And as long as these kids are making them a lot of money, the NCAA can try. But here's the big kicker in this whole thing here, okay? We see super conferences developing before our eyes, okay? Wait till UCLA and USC join the Big Ten. Wait till the Big 12 continues to try to steal more teams from the Pac-12. We'll see. I mean, the SEC has a good deal. But as these conferences go to 20 teams per, then we'll see that thing called helpless that sits in front of the NCAA offices. I believe they're in Indianapolis now. Helpless. Okay, we're in trouble because we thought our, didn't stink, but indeed it did. So you just have to look at it all, that there's only one word that describes the NCAA, corrupt. And another guy that I met this past October was Bruce Pearl, and he didn't have anything good to say about the NCAA. So, he told me, I didn't have my recorder. We left it off record. But he told me, you ever want to call me? I'll tell you what I really think. But he still has to be careful. But Pearl's done a really good job at Auburn. So a lot of people don't like the NCAA anyways. And just a lot of them don't have the guts to talk about it. And another thing I should close it on, why do you think that Coach K left? Why do you think Roy Williams left? Why do you think Jay Wright left? Why do you think all these legendary coaches are saying goodbye? Because they're sick and tired of everything going on. And they were there to coach the game of basketball, a la a.k.a. Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. They're not out here to just sit there and play games about the LA transfer portal roulette, because that's what you got, right? Everybody's playing a game called hopscotch, jumping from one lily pad to another, and some don't get to the other lily pad because they overestimated what they were doing. So there you have it. I mean, Deion Sanders put 50, 60 guys in the transfer portal. Wonder how many of them got run on. I don't know. I think the whole thing is corrupt, and the NCAA, and again, I reiterate the word trying, won't happen.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think these kids have starting to get a little bit more power behind them. And you're right, there is always the court system, to back them up. So we will see indeed how this goes. Going on to our next topic, which is we got about probably 13 minutes left, and we're going to get Scott over to the South Florida Tribune. As a reminder, coming up after this, go to South Florida Tribune. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Sports Exchange. Scott Jacobs going to be there. Is Stevie Batts in the house tonight, Scott?
Who?
Is Stevie Batts in the house tonight? I know JB is. And for our Sports Exchange.
Jeremy Ballerick will be there.
No, I meant for the Sports Exchange. Who all's going to be on?
We got myself, Candy Ebling, George Eichhorn, Jeremy, Jacob, and JB. Candy's going to pay us a visit tonight.
Hey, the other half. There we go.
Yeah, the other half. one of the stars of that old show that you used to have on the network.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. And real quick on this one, this is a bit of a non-sports one, but it caught my attention. I wanted to get, some input on this one. So, a Houston woman's being currently held in a Dubai jail after breaking a national law of screaming in public. She currently faces 2 to 5 years in prison. Tierra Young Allen had her passport confiscated. It's been in custody for the last 2 months. She got into a car accident over there and got out and got into basically a screaming match with the other driver. This was reported. She's been detained by authorities in Dubai. And just to let everybody know real quick, one of my first deployments was at Al Dhafra Air Base, which is just down the road from Dubai. They're not playing over there, you all. Okay? The same things that people do here in the United States, you cannot do overseas, especially in the Middle East. They are double strict. They will throw you in real ass prison real quick. Okay, and say
women
again?
too.
Yes, absolutely. And regardless, and you know what? I know people have got their commentary on and their thoughts. Well, it's sexist towards women. It's this and that or whatever. Listen, it is regardless of what you think. It is not your backyard. You don't like it? Go elsewhere or stay here in America. Because over there, that's how they run it. You have to vet these places, people, before you go. I can't stress this enough. When I was stationed in Turkey in 2005, we used to always tell other troops that were coming into Turkey that had never been outside the United States before, watch the film Midnight Express. I know that film is not lost on you two, gentlemen. Midnight Express, yes, what happens in that film really does go on overseas. So I just want to swing it to Jacob and then get your thoughts about this.
I mean, you got to realize this. People the Americans have this unusual obsession with social media. And it's the 2% of the loud, that are going for being the social, all the things. They want to be the woke. They want to be the feminists. They want to be the this. They want to be the that. And they want to be really loud on social media, and they want to get all the work. They want to go on TikTok and get people's attention, which I would like to get, but you get my point. They see all this, and they think that America is the same as everywhere else. This is, not only did a woman get thrown in jail, but just imagine what they will do to gay people around the world. People are talking about what quote unquote DeSantis could do to gay people. It won't be what the Middle Easterners already do. In Iran, they had their premier saying, this is a couple of years ago, that we have no gay people in Iran. We have no gay people. And of course they don't, because anybody that admits it dies. They don't have this. That's the thing with women. They have trouble enough getting women to, get girls in school who want. Remember the girl, Talal, what was her name? I forget. Malala, yeah. I mean, she got shot in the head when she was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Wanting to go to school. I mean, she survived, but it's like, this is what they do in the Middle East. Your 2% of the loudest on social media make no difference to the world at all. It's like your little CW or whatever the social media / reality show is going to have to stop. You're going to have to start getting, and you got to quit educating yourself in American ways and start going around the world. Start understanding, because you're going to get like this woman did. She obviously did not get educated.
Yeah, right. And the crazy part about it is it apparently was not her first time going. But this is why I say you got to vet these places out. You cannot act, no matter what your personality is hit. You can't act the same way here in the States like over there. Like how you act in Miami and Atlanta or wherever, you can't act like that in Dubai. You can't act like that in Bahrain or anything like that. Like they will lock you up real quick, apparently. But, swing it over to Scott and get your thoughts about this.
Well, freedom of speech isn't the same here as it is there.
Bingo!
It is. Our U.S. Constitution wrote freedom of speech. You want freedom of speech? Don't go across a big pond. I haven't been across a big pond, but I haven't just made it there. Okay, so that's all there is to it. And I'm still waiting to find out, okay, when Paul Whelan's going to be let go, because we made that trade, Brittany Griner, okay, for the weapons guy, right? Or the so
Yep.
here we
Victor Bout.
are. Right. So I'm still waiting for Paul Whelan to get released, and I'm waiting for Brittany Griner to speak up because I haven't heard anything much about Paul Whelan. Pardon the fact that he's from Michigan either. He's still locked up in Russia. She's out here playing basketball. But I think the whole thing is idiotic. But if she opened her mouth the way she did, I hate to say it, but be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And President Biden's not bailing her out or can't keeping her mouth shut. He was under political pressure to get Brittany Griner out, and Brittany Griner was a bad PR nightmare for Russia. Now, I don't get into a whole lot of politics, but when we bring on these kinds of topics because somebody can't keep their mouth shut, screaming never gets you anywhere for the most part, unless you're Stephen A. Smith, and then you can scream and maybe one of the few lone survivors at ESPN.
Even I had to get the look big, so he has to scream a lot to get anybody's attention.
Exactly. I was getting ready to get Jacob's goat on that one. Screaming don't get you anywhere. I got him too, didn't I, Tens?
Yep, you lured him right in. You lured him right in.
Oh yeah, he took the bait, Mr.
No, I took the bait and I put ketchup on it.
I know what you did. And I put mustard on it. Turd, you get it? Okay, yeah. So now you can't really get away with this stuff over there. And if you think you are, there's no leniency over there. She didn't smuggle it. My father-in-law joked around with me one time when I was studying for the 215 license for my insurance test that when I would go into a library to study, he said, you ought to just take duct tape and put it on your tape so you can't see anything bad. Well, thanks, Daddy-in-law. Okay. I was locked up in that room just to leave people alone, but he used to like to get my goat too. But lady, as we served so many times, just shut up.
Yep.
No, President Biden's going to bail you out of this one.
Yep. We don't have any arms dealers to trade off, so. But I'll say this much is let this be a lesson to people out there about how they run things overseas, and do not fall victim to Americanism and thinking that you're so much better than everybody else just because you come from and you're born here, and you go and think that you can do anything you want anywhere you go. Obviously, you see there are consequences for it. Well,
the world hates.
Let me add this. Sorry. In the eyes of Don King, the legendary promoter, only in America, but not over there.
But not over there, exactly.
The world hates us anyway. Most of it does. The Americanism in the middle of a Middle Eastern country would get you in jail.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as we close out the show, Jacob, is it okay if we move the
let's move Tim Tebow to next week. Let's do the finals.
Yeah, all right. So coming up here now is our pundit shots. This is our final shots before we end the show. And I'll start this one off. And I'll just go really quick, and I'll just say last night, Tuesday night, 12 teams in Major League Baseball scored in double digits in one day. That's the most since 1894 when it was 13. 4 of the games featured both teams scoring in double digits, which ties an all-time Major League Baseball record. Man, if you are a fan of offense in Major League Baseball, last night was it. Last night was the one. Scott, I don't know if you're covering this on the Sports Exchange or anything like that. I want to make it quick just in case you were. But I saw comments online saying, oh, man, they juicing the balls again and whatever. It could just be just an offensive output that literally we haven't seen the likes of in over 100 years. So let's hold off on the conspiracy theories and, for now, and enjoy good baseball. Jacob, on you.
Hey, Colin Cowherd. Hey, how you doing? I've always said to you in the past that you are the reason for Pundit's Pundit in a different way. The original idea was supposed to be, just one of those things where I kind of talk alone, maybe a producer to help at a time. But then it got to the way we are now, and it's so much better. It is so much better, and I love it that way. Now, let me bring this to you, though. One of the reasons that one of the reasons I started Pundit's Pundit because of you is because this is the issue. You do have a great idea, your commentary and everything, that you are an intelligent individual. But you know what you do that's really drives me nuts? You get in really late on things. You get in really late on things. Oh, it's so wonderful right now. It's such a great thing right now. You can jump in on Justin Fields. You're jumping in on him. Well, he's 5-20. I was there before game 1, and then after he had 9 sacks. What you were doing, you were saying how much better he was going to be than Mitchell Trubisky. You were saying, oh, by the way, you remember when Nick Foles, okay, I'll say this to Stephen A. Smith also. Remember when Nick Foles showed up and they got to replace Trubisky? Oh, they were going to the Super Bowl now. They end up winning 2 whole games with him. They had to bring Trubisky back. This is what happens when you become emotional nitwits. Maybe you get your ratings, which are crap anyway. Maybe you get your ratings, but you're getting ratings off of stupid people. We've got to get to a world of intelligence, and we got to make that. We got to make intelligence cool, and this is not making intelligence cool. Jumping in especially with Colin, you're going to go after Colin. You're going to go. The minute Justin has 3 straight good games, you're going to pretend you never said this. I don't do that. Maybe I don't get the crowds that you do or the viewership that you do. But they're going to see me 10 years from now remembering this. It was him, and they'll remember me for James Harden too. Quit jumping on my bandwagon.
So Justin Verlander says he's committed to trying to win a championship with the Mets. Well, you know what, Justin? You went there with the intent to try to do it. Have a good manager in Buck Showalter. But the Mets, okay, in the eyes of summer Santa Claus, you better watch out. I'm telling you why the trade deadline is coming around. So you better get hot, because if you're not, a lot of these guys are going to be gone. And Steve Cohen will go out there and have to go shopping at the Gap next year. So when you have an older pitching staff like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, who are destined Hall of Famers, they better get it figured out real quick, because you never know if one or both will be gone. And who knows, just because you spend the most doesn't mean that it's a one-way ticket to the postseason. They've got a lot of work to do, but not a lot of time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as far as some to add on to what Scott said, you look at some of the biggest payrolls in baseball. The Yankees come to mind. They haven't made a World Series since 2009. The Dodgers come to mind, and we know what they are in the playoffs. So just like he said, just because you spend the much doesn't guarantee anything. On that note, we got to get out of here, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the Pundit. So until next week, for Scott, Jacob, I'm Denzel Snipes. We will see you in 7 days. Now hop on over to the South Florida Tribune and check out the Sports Exchange. This is Pundit. Later.